Welcome back to Whiplash TV. Today I'm going to be showing y'all how to install the Aerpro kit. I'm going to be putting it on my 2009 Pontiac G8 GT. I've never installed one before, but I'm going to do it today and hopefully help some of y'all out that are about to tackle this job. I'm going to unbox this real quick. I'm going to show y'all what's inside and then we'll get right into installation. For those of y'all that don't know, this kit makes it to where it will control your dual climate control, AC and heat controls, and also let you put a doubled-in head unit in. In my case, I'm going to run this Alpine iLX-507 model, and I'm going to install both of those together. On the G8, you have to have a special kit because the AC and heat controls are up on the head unit and it's all integrated. So this kit is going to separate it out so you can run what head unit you want. This is the new V2 kit, so it's the second generation. This kit's supposed to be a lot better than the first generation. So let's take a look at the new Aerpro kit and see what all comes with it. So in with the kit comes a full colored instruction manual that tells you what all comes in the kit. It's also going to tell you how to work the kit, and then also back here in the back it has a installation guide back here. Also on the G8 only website you can find a digital version that you can look at on the internet and follow it if you want to go that route. Otherwise, there is a book that will show you as well in with the kit. In with the kit is some mounting hardware as well. There's also an electrical harness inside the box. There's some fuses here on the harness. There's also some different wires that are marked, like this one says parking brake. This one says reverse. This one says VSS. So it looks like the harness is pretty clearly labeled and marked. We'll see when we get into installation how we make the connections and how that goes. It also looks like it has a couple pigtails right here, which I believe are going to go to the radio, because I went ahead and purchased the Aerpro kit, which is supposed to be a plug and play, and you simply pick out which head unit you're going to run. So I bought the one, of course, for an Alpine head unit. This is supposed to be plug and play for this head unit. That should save a lot of time and a lot of connections that have to be made. This looks like a trim ring for your doubled-in radio that would snap on to this kit for a clean look. We'll see how that turns out. Here we have the actual kit itself. Here you can see the HVAC controls right here. This will be a display for like your temperature and things that you're doing with the controls. This kit also has a USB hookup right here that is on the front of it. You simply pull this plug out and then there's a USB connection. Now on the back of the unit, there's this USB wire coming out right here. So I imagine I can plug this into the back of the head unit, which is going to be up here, and plug it into one of those USB pigtails, and then I'll simply be able to hook into it right here. So that will make for a clean installation. Now I know that my Alpine head unit is going to have two USB pigtails, so I'll pick the more powerful one that will work for a wired Apple CarPlay and Android Play as well. That's pretty nice though that it has this. It'll help to save some running of some wire and make for an easy connection just right there if you plug your phone in. Up here at the top, you still have your hazard light provision at the same location as the factory model. I will do an unbox on the Alpine head unit later. Alright, let's head over to the car and install this new Aerpro HVAC control unit. One thing that I wanted to show y'all real quick was part of the reason why I'm changing out my head unit is because it's starting to crack on the screen. and it's starting to get a bit of wear down there at the bottom. Of course, your hands are down here all the time hitting the buttons to change the radio channel, and sometimes your fingernails and stuff will touch down there. So the screen has just kind of got some wear on it. The unit itself is still working great. Now, one thing I do suggest that you do before you get started on anything is remove any CDs that you have inside your head unit. Obviously, once you lose power to your head unit, then you're not going to be able to get these discs out. So pull them all out of there. Down here, it will show where you have discs at and at what spot. And as you can see, when all your discs are out, it'll just have a hash mark there, and it won't show any numbers there, 1 through 6. Alright, so I got all my CDs out. The next thing we've got to do is, they are adamant in the instructions, and it states right here that they want you to calibrate the HVAC system before you remove the factory radio. Also, in the instructions, it talks about making sure that your HVAC controls and everything functions normal. So they want you to verify that, you know, your fan works, your dual climate control works, you know, all your buttons and stuff, your AC, because they obviously don't want you to put in there the new kit and then something not be working and it be a pre-existing condition before you install this. Alright, so we're going to perform this calibration real quick. According to the instructions, make sure that all the doors on the car are closed and the radio is powered off. So my radio was on. I'm going to open and close my door, make my radio go off. All the doors are shut, so now I have to turn the ignition to on, but do not start the car, and then press and hold the demister button, which is this one right down here. Alright, so let's try this. Turn the key on, press and hold the demister button. Okay, I hear the actuator door moving. You can just barely hear it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Okay, after giving it more than the 10 to 15 seconds, I never heard any clicking noises that they talk about, and everything is running fine. So I'm going to proceed with the installation by turning the ignition back to off. Also, for this installation, we're going to need our doors open while we're pulling some panels and some trim. If your dome lights are on, simply hit this button here and it will turn off all your dome lights, so that way you don't kill your battery. Alright, now we're going to go to the installation and start with step 1. The very first step is to remove the right side dash trim, and it says right side and shows a steering wheel because this is on a Australian car, so it's right hand drive. So you'll have to remove your silver trim piece both on your left side and your right side. So to do this, we're going to put our plastic trim remover piece behind the trim, and we're going to remove the trim. It's held in by clips. Here is where it shows the glove box on the left hand side on the Australian car, so we have to remove both pieces of silver trim. I have several of these plastic trim removal tools. I'll leave a link down in the video description so y'all can pick up some of these plastic removal tools in case if you don't have any. They're going to keep you from scratching up your pieces of plastic trim. We will also be removing the glove box, so go ahead and empty the contents of it. This piece of trim is held on by 5 clips. Alright, this piece of trim is held in as well by 5 clips. Alright, after removing the trim pieces, our next step is going to be to remove these covers, one here and one here behind the glove box. I'm going to use a really small straight blade screwdriver, or you could use a pick. You're just going to pull right here. It's going to pop right out. That's going to expose a screw here. And then you're going to come to this side, same thing, pull it out, expose that screw. After removing those 2 panels that I just showed you, the next thing it says to do is to remove the left side of the dash and end trim. After removing that piece of side trim, then it says to remove and unclip the panel underneath the glove box, which is going to be down there. Alright, there's the bottom panel. It's held in by 3 clips in the front and 3 clips in the back. Okay, next up, at the very bottom of the glove compartment, there's 2 screws to remove. That's going to be up underneath here, looking up. So there's 1 screw up under here and 1 screw up underneath this side. Alright, those 2 screws up underneath there are really easy to find. They're just 2 Phillips screws. Next up, we have to remove the 5 Phillips screws that are holding in the glove box. Also, it says caution because the glove box may drop when the screws are removed. So make sure that you're supporting the glove box as you're removing the final screws. Looking at the glove box, those screws are located here, 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 and right here. Now after you get the glove box screws out, be gentle with it, because right back in there is a connector that we're going to have to undo. You have to remove the glove box once it's unscrewed and disconnect the connector at the rear to completely remove it from the vehicle. Alright, that connector comes right off the glove box here, goes up and connects right here to the back of this metal. It's very easy to disconnect. All you have to do is push right here and it'll snap right on down and out. Very simple. So the next thing to do is remove the side trim piece right in here of the center console. It says to pull down and pull out. Shows that it's held in by a couple clips. So we'll get that removed next. Okay, here's that piece. It came out really easy. Here's your clip here, and it just real easily slid down and pulled out. So let me explain something to y'all. Remember how I mentioned to you that this instruction manual is for a right-hand drive Australian model. So after removing that panel, it then states to disconnect the antenna. Well, these 2 connections are going to be on our American driver side. On our passenger side is what they find behind removing their right-hand drive vehicle, which is this connector here and this main connector right here. So I'm fast forwarding in the instructions to go ahead and pull this out And then we'll go over to the driver's side and disconnect that side. We'll remove this main black one. All right, so over here on the right hand side of the radio, behind where we remove the side panel, we're going to remove the main connector. You pull down on this upper tab here and pull out, and it's going to release this by pulling out. You have to kind of get the wires up and out of the way, pull out, and then it'll come right out. All right, so the first thing to do on the driver's side is to remove this outer trim panel right here. This panel is held on by 3 clips. Next, we have to remove this section underneath the steering column right here. It says to do it just by pulling down and popping out the clips. Also, we'll have to undo the electrical that's on the back side of your headlight selector. All right, so this panel is held on by 2 clips at the top, 2 clips at the bottom. Same thing over here on the left side, 2 clips down there, 2 clips at the top. Now that that trim piece is out, it tells us to remove the side panel right up in here, just like we did the other one. All right, the next thing we're going to do is remove the antenna connector. In this case, it shows that this vehicle had 2, but it does say that most vehicles only have 1. On my vehicle, it only has 1. It is located so we're just going to push this right here and then disconnect it. All right, the next thing to do is to remove the factory radio face, which is held on by 4 clips. It says to start by unclipping from the bottom using your hands or a panel remover, and then remove the top. And this is what it's supposed to look like here from the back. All right, so to remove your radio, you're going to need to get both hands up underneath here. You can get about a good inch up with your fingers. For the purpose of me trying to video and record and do this at the same time, I already popped it loose. My radio was really hard to pop loose because I don't think it's ever been off before. At least I know it hasn't in the 8 years I've had it. You're going to pull it. It's going to pop loose from the bottom. And the top kind of came with it too. And then the whole faceplate is going to come right on off. On the back side of it, you have a clip up here, clip right here, and a clip right here, and a clip over there. And at the same time, those 2 electrical connections are coming undone as well. And next, we're going to undo 4 screws. 1 here, 1 here, 1 down here, 1 down here. Once these screws are out, then our radio will come out. So now pull your radio on out. You may have to wiggle it a little bit side to side to get it free and out. If you tilt it down and forward and like this, then you can clear your shifter and pull it straight on out. Alright, so once the radio's out, the next step is to remove this Phillips screw here and this Phillips screw right there. Those are going to be used on the new fascia right there and right there to hold it in. Now in the instructions, it actually takes you through down here at the bottom if you have one of those flip doors, which I do not, and it tells you what you all got to take apart to change out that door or to install a new pan down here and to change this out. Now to do all that, you have to actually remove and tear apart a whole bunch of stuff right here at your shifter and your window switches and everything. But I'm keeping my tray and my cigarette lighter because I need it for my radar detector. So I didn't have to do any of those steps. The installation guide will walk you through that. Next, it says when you begin mounting the new fascia kit, before you install the new kit, it says to plug in the supplied harnesses to the rear of the fascia, one power harness and one steering wheel control harness. Okay, so you remember me showing you this harness earlier on the unbox. On this harness, it has one connector right here, which is a total of 10 pins. And on the back of the Aerpro kit, you have one that is a 10-pin connector, which is this upper one. And then this lower one down here, it is a 12-pin connector. So you're not going to be able to get them mixed up. Your 12-pin connector is this one right here, which has a ground, key 1, key 2, and this auxiliary plug-in here as well. So first we need to plug in the 12-pin and the 10-pin connectors. On these connectors you can see there's a small nub on the bottom side, and you can see there's a little clip right here on the bottom of this. So you have to make sure the part that's clipping onto it is on the bottom side. That way you'll make sure that you don't get these plugged in like upside down. So now I have both of them plugged in, and then we now have all this wiring now that's connected to the back of the Aerpro kit. The next connection that it says to make is the supplied antenna adapter. This is the supplied antenna adapter right here. This bluish green end is what's going to snap into our antenna connector right here. Alright, so now that our antenna adapter is installed, we've got these two wires left out of the adapter on the other end. And according to the instructions, after your antenna is installed, the next thing to do is to put your Aerpro kit up there, feeding the wires through it. So right now we have our kit and we got a whole bunch of wires on the back of it. So now we're going to set it up and in place, and we'll have to get a hold of the wires. Alright, so I have all the wires hanging out the front. So now we're going to start to set the new kit in place. The mounting ears on the side of it are a little snug, so line them up and set your new kit in. Now I have the new Aerpro kit pushed in. Up here, remember, is where one screw is going to go, and the other one's going to go up here. So line up your spots where the screws are going to go, and then install these two screws. Down on the bottom of the Aerpro kit, there is a screw hole right here, and that is where they want you to drill your 3/8 inch pilot hole to install the long screw, which is provided in this kit. It's this long black one right here, a Phillips. Mount your screw there, mount your two screws there, and those three screws hold the kit in place. I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and I'll catch y'all right after that. All right, y'all, now the Aerpro kit is installed. Got our screw in back there, screw is in back here, and then also the screw is in right down there. Now the bottom of this kit is not going to sit flush back here, so don't just continue to tighten this screw until you think it's going to sit flush. Just tighten it to where it comes up against this plastic, and then, you know, just kind of feel of it and give a little pull in and out on the kit, and just make sure it's tight and snug. Once it's tight and snug, then that's all there is to it. And I did that screw after I did the top two. So that really helps you know if that bottom one is holding the amount that you need it to hold. So next up is going to be to install the head unit. So this is where my Alpine head unit harness is going to come into play. So if you have a Pioneer or Kenwood or something else, they do sell adapters for those head units. So now I've got to hook up this harness to this harness. Alright, so on the Aerpro kit, there's this orangish red kind of plug-in and then a black one. On my adapter for the Alpine unit, I have the orange and black as well. So these just plug in together. They can only go one way. And then plug in the black one. And then this connector should go on the back of the Alpine head unit. On this harness, I have a parking brake, and then I also have a reverse. Now on my Aerpro kit, I also have a parking brake and a reverse. So I'm going to connect those. So now I have parking brake to parking brake. Next I'll hook up my reverse. That one's connected now. So next I'm going to unbox the new Alpine head unit since we're about ready to install it. In the Alpine head unit, you have a owner's manual and product registration. Also in this packet, you have a camera input adapter. And you have your RCA pre-out. This would be your wiring harness used if we didn't have the already made adapter. This is for your steering wheel remote, your microphone in, your HDMI REM out, your auxiliary REM out. And then you have another adapter that has things like your front camera adapter in there, your rear camera, your line in, your vehicle speed sensor. All those things are on this harness. You also have your external microphone for when you're talking on the phone. This is a GPS that is going to have to go preferably up on the dash. Comes with sticky pads and mounting. This GPS is also needed for your clock on your Alpine head unit. Looks like this is some mounting hardware. We have a trim bezel piece. And then we have the head unit itself. This looks like a connection for your antenna. These are your USB connections right here on the back of the radio. You also have your HDMI in and out, and your connection for the radio itself here, and your other adapters for the RCA outs and other things. Alright, let's go work on getting this head unit installed. I'm going to try to give a good summary as to where I'm at right now. So for my Alpine head unit, I'm going to be running my microphone just kind of up over here in the corner, face it back at me as the driver right here. And then I ran the wire down beneath there, across under the steering column, through here, and then into here. And that is hooked up right here where it says microphone in. Then I showed y'all all my connections for the harness that is going to the Alpine head unit into here, which then interfaces with the vehicle. And then the only other ones I had to connect were the parking brake and the reverse as well. And then in the instructions that was given with the kit, it didn't talk about this ground, key 1, key 2. And then also, aside from these, it had the auxiliary hooked up, which I put into my steering remote connection for the head unit itself. So when you look at the version of these instructions online, it actually shows 3 vehicle harnesses over here on the left, and then it shows, you know, what everything is going to. The only connections that I had to do was the parking brake, the reverse, and then my Alpine head unit did not show a pink speed pulse one, and there is a VSS wire over there that is not connected, so I'm gonna be trying it without it. I guess I don't need it according to the Aerpro quick connect harness for Alpine. So this was kind of helpful, and then this was helpful here too. So it shows the SWC patch harness configuration, and then it shows that 3.5mm jack, and that is used for Alpine, Clarion, Pioneer, and Sony, according to this. And then some of those others, it says here, use key 1 bullet terminal for these head units, Kenwood, JVC, and another brand there. And then it also shows to use key 1, key 2, and ground for head units that are a self-learn head unit. So these 3 here won't get any connections, and I'll just use that jack into there like I showed you. So this will get plugged into the back of my head unit, and this will get plugged into the back of my head unit. I also have up over here is the GPS. I'm just going to run it right up there and see if I get a good enough signal. I'll leave me a little slack, and then I'll just stick that on the dash up in the corner, kind of out of the way. I've ran that down up underneath here behind the glove box and then fed it through to here. And my connection for that is right here, just this gray one. So I've got to hook up the gray one to it. And then on the back of the head unit, I'm going to hook up my USB for the Aerpro to the Apple CarPlay one there. And before I make all those connections, you have to install this basket and make sure everything else is pulled through. Another thing I'm going to use is this 4K HDMI connection, and I'm using this onto the back of the head unit. And right down here, I'm sneaking through the other end of the HDMI, so then I can hook up HDMI to Lightning from my Apple iPhone, or I can use that to hook up a Amazon Fire Stick or whatever I want to do with it. Obviously, you can run this to whatever location you want to, but I'm for now just going to set it down here and just leave the extra cable back up behind there, kind of coiled up. So now this basket has to go in, since I've got all my wiring through it. Now there is a plastic stop right there that this is going to go up against. So you're just going to install it like that, and you can see it's up against the plastic retaining spot the whole way around. And then you have to bend these tabs back to install it, and it'll hold up in place. So then after the basket's installed, I'm going to make my connections to the head unit, and I'll show you the metal plates and how those connect to the head unit for mounting. Then, after everything's connected, you can do your first key on and power everything up and see if everything is talking to everything like it needs to, and if it's all working. Always test everything out before you just snap your head unit in there with everything hooked up and untested. Alright, I'm getting closer, y'all. I'm starting to stuff all these wires in. The prongs for this to be held in by was up here at the top and down at the bottom. I pushed some of those prongs in. You can see right there and right there. Those are holding in the basket, top and bottom. And then to mount your head unit on the side, you have to use these brackets. And then you have this piece right here. It's got to be mounted with this piece sticking out. And this piece will go like this. And it'll mount behind this one here. All those little notches are for these two little notches at the back to set in. And that right there will get your spacing of where your head unit is going to sit into the basket. So here's a side that I've done already. And I'll have to verify and make sure that that sits just right. So now I'm going to finish putting my bracket on this side. And then we're about ready for our first power up. Alright y'all, I've got the black connector over here hooked up. Sorry it's gotten dark on me, but it takes a while trying to hook this whole thing up and shoot a video. So I'm trying my best for y'all. Now, let's do our first power on. The head unit is working and is on. And our AC controls are down here and working and are on. So right here it shows like if the AC's on, if defrost is on. There's a lot of stuff that I can do here on this radio. And one of the cool things is too, you can watch your battery voltage, which is pretty neat. Alright y'all, everything is working real good so far. Both the AC controls down here, they've been working just fine. I really like how at the bottom you can see the outside temperature is always displayed. If y'all remember on the other setup, you had to actually hit a button to display the outside temperature, whereas this one actually shows it. This head unit is sweet. You can do Apple CarPlay like I mentioned. And so this is just showing that I have the Apple Music up. I just threw something up there just to show y'all. The clock is also being displayed, so that means that my GPS that I told y'all about up in the upper right hand passenger corner is working just fine. So far everything's good to go ahead and button up. But it's all dark, so I'm gonna have to catch up with y'all tomorrow. And I'll show y'all some more features and how it looks all closed up. Alright y'all, here it is all installed. It looks great. It looks so much better than the factory. I'll go ahead and power it up. Here you can see a good look of the Aerpro kit, since it's still a little bit dark in the car, and you can see the lights lit up. All the buttons on the outside out here and the fan buttons are touch buttons. The Alpine head unit automatically hooks up to my CarPlay and to my phone. This is such a big upgrade compared to the factory radio. I will be doing a full review video on this Alpine iLX-507 model head unit. And I'll do another video on the Aerpro V2 kit, just kind of going over how it controls, you know, off of the knobs and the touch buttons. Different ones do different things. and I'll do a separate video on all that and a review of the Aerpro V2 kit. Before you get on out of here, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button to help out the video and the channel. Also, drop me a comment of what y'all think of the install and of this head unit and the Aerpro V2 kit. And please be sure to subscribe and ring that notifications bell. That way you get notified every time that I post a brand new video. Be sure to check out all the other videos on the channel, including those of you that have G8s and want to see more mods for your G8. There is links in the video description down below to where you can order and check out this Alpine head unit and the Aerpro V2 kit. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.